Hi there, friends. I'll come in here with a quick note to let you know that the first global product owner summit organized by the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is coming soon. To know more, check out the bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. And stick around to the end of the episode to know more. But for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us, and this will be a surprise, from Mexico City, and the surprise comes now, is Kirill Golubev. Hey, Kirill. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. It's a pleasure to be there.
So, Kirill is not a Mexican name, right?
No, it's originally a Greek name, but it's very popular in Slavic countries in the post-Soviet Union. So I was originally born in Russia, but then I moved to Mexico, where I'm settled.
Very good, very good. And we were just talking about how sometimes it is quite warm in Mexico City at this time. It is winter in Europe as we record. But I also learned, and this is a surprise for me, that it's not so warm in the morning in Mexico City.
Yeah, it's a very common misconception that when you talk about Mexico to people from Europe, they say, oh, like sombreros, tacos, tequila, and very hot weather. Well, it is not so all the time. Well, now you see that I'm wearing jacket, which is pretty warm for me because we don't have heating in our houses. So this is the reason.
Yeah, no, I know how that feels being from Portugal. All right, so Kirill considers himself an agile and common sense apologist. He wants to see simple processes in place when people self-organize and manage themselves without constant push from management. That was a short intro, that and of course the temperature situation in Mexico City. So Kirill, take a moment, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Okay, well, my story would be, I think, not very exceptional because, well, I heard a lot of strange stories, people becoming Scrum Master from being a sales managers or being lawyers,
psychologists, anthropologists.
Yeah, exactly. Even psychiatrists, they become Scrum Masters. My story is more kind of conventional. So I studied administration at university, and in the last years of my studies, I focused myself on management in IT. So it was kind of conventional way for me to go and start some kind of internship or the first work assignment as IT project manager. So I used to work as IT project manager for 3-4 years, I guess, and I realized working with the teams that sometimes they just don't need you to control everything because, well, you maybe you're not the best subject matter expert in what they do on a daily basis, right? So the best ideas and the best architectures, as it says in the Agile Manifesto, comes from self-organizing team. And basically, it's what I've witnessed. So people were self-organizing. They were like pretty adult and independent. And they kind of taught me that we need to do it this way. We need to do it that way. But the management view on how they requested the outcomes of the project were always kind of like pushing. So they wanted me to prepare this project charter. They wanted me to
break down the tasks and tell everybody what to do and when to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, I created the Gantt chart, which was a pain in the neck in that time. So I worked in different organizations and I proposed some kind of changes in this process. But I guess in the first organization, I was not clearly understood because, well, it was not their way of working. But when I switched to our organization, which had kind of startup culture, startup mindset, they were pretty welcoming all the changes that I would propose. And at that time, I got myself familiarized with the Agile Manifesto and the Scrum Guide. And it was like a bingo moment for me. I said, so it is something I may use. So It all started with being kind of agile project manager for myself, and I was implementing some parts of Scrum, and started being Scrum Master and facilitating, despite the fact that formally I was an IT project manager. But in the next job, which I took, it was very funny because the company has no idea what they wanted. So it was a new team. They were conducting, they were hiring personnel for creating a new department, and they had no idea what kind of processes may work for them. So they hired me as a project manager, but over time, they changed my role into being a Scrum Master, like a full-time
Why
Scrum
did
Master.
that happen, though? That's interesting. Also, it sounds very logical, assuming a certain context, which I don't know was there. So, like, how did it happen? Did they come to you and say, "Hey, Kirill, we don't need a project manager anymore. Would you like to be the Scrum Master?" Is that how it happened?
Well, the situation was that they had already two product managers, and these product managers were pretty busy with these requirements, prioritization, and there was no need for me to do this work for them. And at the time I joined the team, there were only 3 developers. So we have two product manager, 1 project manager, and 3 team members. It's like in this joke
It was unbalanced.
when you have 3 managers and only 1 person delivering something, right? So it all started with the discussion how a team would like to see the processes. So it wasn't like the push from my side. I just asked them, well, guys, how do you imagine you working? And what they asked me for was, first of all, transparency and the tooling they may use to see the work in progress and to see what's going on at that moment, and some kind of like a visual tool helping them to prioritize their daily work.
Absolutely. And of course, from these kind of transitions, like myself, I was also a project manager before I became a Scrum Master. From this kind of transitions come all kinds of amazing stories. And today's Monday here on the podcast, so we'll talk about one of those difficult moments as a Scrum Master. So Kirill, share with us a moment when you, as a Scrum Master, you were facing a problem that you just couldn't solve. So walk us through the story. We'll dissect it later and take the learnings from that. But walk us through that story.
All right. So I have a lot of recollection of failures. So I guess I just need to cherry pick some of them. But I think the most representative moment was when the team was growing bigger, and this issue with the 2 product managers turning into 3 product managers and the constantly growing team was a real pain for me.
So can you explain what that looked like? Because I have a hard time imagining what would it look like to have 3 product managers working with a team.
They were constantly fighting over having, for example, architectures for their part of software. So they were building some kind of like a small pieces of software, which was like a part of a bigger application. But they didn't have the same. They shared the same backlog, and they were always fighting over the priorities, over having like more resource in their components. And just taking this, can you imagine a retrospective for 25 people?
Oh, so it was that big of a team already at that point. Okay.
Yes, 25 people. So because team was growing pretty fast. So from 3 developers, it grown into 23 in around like 3 or 4 months. And we realized that a team was that big that in order to respect the time box, and even forgetting about the time box, that was pretty hard to conduct a retrospective when everyone's fighting, because different product managers provide different priorities, and people just need to do something. They need to prioritize. Instead of like prioritizing for the team, product managers were just fighting between each other.
They were prioritizing for their own things. And there's something you said that I want to pick, because of course, one thing would be for product managers to be fighting for which feature is the most important. That would be problematic enough, but at least they would be talking about features. But you said they were fighting about which component should get priority. So the product managers were organized around components, not around end-to-end features.
Exactly. So there were some components which eventually created the product. Yeah, but over these different components, they needed to create different. Well, they had different backlogs basically. Yeah, but everything was held in the same space. It's like well, if someone's married, yeah, it's, and when you share the same blankets, and overnight you realize that you're losing your blanket because
The
another person
blanket
is
is only
pulling it.
so big, right? So,
Yes,
and
exactly.
the other metaphor that came to me is like three chefs in the kitchen fighting about which part of the dish is more important, whether the rice or the duck or the vegetables, and they want the team to work on only one of them. It's like, okay, but it
Yeah,
doesn't matter what you work on, because if they succeed, you still don't have a dish to serve to the customer.
yeah, exactly. And in the end, the customers well, were not served with a meal, right? So they were not provided with appropriate product. And well, this situation could not last for a long time, because it's one of the most well, I would say it's one of the biggest anti-patterns in Scrum, and in team building. So I call it common sense, because well, it's not only related to Scrum or Agile. Well, we can take a million examples from daily life. Yeah, explaining this stuff.
So how
So
did you sort this out? Like, or did you even, like, when you look back, and if you could go back in time and work on this same problem again, what would you do differently?
well, I think I would approach the management from the beginning to kind of explain them the value of having just one person prioritizing the backlog, and there was a one person who was able to do that. Well, in the end, this problem was partly resolved by scaling Scrum. We used the Nexus framework to separate people from the teams, and we created this famous integration team from representative from different teams to kind of came up with the same idea, and being able to contribute to the product, not to different components, right? But what I think was done wrong is that we have just separated the backlogs. So we created like three different teams.
So you
That
created three different teams for three different components.
Yeah, from three different backlogs. But in the end, the product was the same. And well, due to the Scrum guide and due to the well, all the instructions which are given to us by Scrum Org, Scrum Alliance, and all other respectful organization, if you have one product, you have one backlog and one product owner. So it wasn't done like by instruction. But in the end, it helped lower the lines of connection between
Yeah,
different
and that's
people.
actually a good point, that even though having backlogs per component and therefore also product owners per component is a less than optimal idea, it's still a lot better than having three product owners fighting over one backlog.
Yeah,
However, it still raises the problem of, okay, but who's controlling the three product owners? Because
yeah.
they all need to kind of align to a higher goal, which is like delivering value, right? And the components themselves alone don't deliver value. So did you guys do something about the, who was getting the product managers to agree on the higher level priorities?
Yeah, well, there was a person in charge of like leader of the product or leader of the product delivery, something like this. But this person was mostly taking care about how to sell this product, not about how to like manage the communication between different product managers and how to align them on the same vision. So it was kind of hard. But well, in the end, as you mentioned, it was not optimal decision, but it's incredibly improved the communications that were in place before that. So in the end, I had well, I switched myself without even thinking about it to the role of kind of agile consultant. So I was there were Scrum Masters in each of these small teams. So there were like partly developers, partly Scrum Masters, but I didn't have to conduct like three retrospective in a row, and
Yeah.
then like a common retrospective. I was serving the bigger team. I was
So
serving
you could look at
the
the
product.
overall concerns.
Yeah, like
rather.
helicopter view, and I was kind of trying to build the agreements and between the teams and kind of bring them to the same point, have them on the same page.
And also the product owners, right? Or product managers.
Yes, and also the product owners who are, well, their titles were product managers, but due to the Scrum glossary, they were playing the role of product owners. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great story. And of course, highlights the importance of having the understanding of the whole, even when you break down things into components, if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. And well, if the responsibility of coaching product owners was still mine at that time, because well, the newly assigned Scrum Masters were not enough mature to take on this role. So yeah, that was my call.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Kirill.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around. This year's first global summit dedicated to the product owner role in Scrum will have some amazing keynotes and 2 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. We'll have Roman Pichler, author and product expert, who'll be answering your questions and sharing the most important aspects of the product owner role. We'll also have Colleen Johnson talking about why roadmaps are probably making your life much harder than it needs to be and what to do instead. This talk was quite a success in Agile Online Summit 2022, and Colleen has learned some new tricks, tools, techniques that she will share with us when it comes to roadmaps for the product owner role. And we will also have Henrik Nyberg, author of Scrum and Kanban from the Trenches, as well as one of the creators of the Spotify model. So come in and listen to his stories. And we'll also have, of course, 2 tracks with many more sessions and even some live sessions. The 2 tracks will cover practices every product owner should know, where we'll be hosting conversations on topics that product owners need to be familiar with, like product backlog refinement, planning, and much more. The second track will be on metrics, measuring product and personal success as a product owner. As product owners, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of what are the metrics that drive success for us, and of course also for the products and businesses that we work with, and we need to continuously measure and optimize those metrics. So in this track, we'll be sharing what's working and what's not in the area of measuring success for product owners. We will also have the opportunity to network with our peers. It's a network event, of course, so get your tickets and join our Slack. Go to bit.ly/product owner 2023. That's all one word, all lowercase. As always, we will have free tickets and VIP tickets, which will give you long-term access to the content of this summit. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2023. All lowercase, all one word. I'll see you on the summit floor. Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience.